Good morning. Bershus the Rav, Bershus everybody here. Thank you very much for coming. I'd like to start appreciation for the Koil, specifically Mayor Klein leading the board and making sure that we're pushed to the max, because it's said over that could be Hillel was Mechayev Da'aniyim, and it could be the whole Gemara was Mecharson was Mechayev Da'ashiyim, etc. But in Yeshiva we're told that all Balabatim are Mechayev Yeshiva Baruchim and Koil and the light. And if Balabas can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and learn Daf Yomi for an hour or 2 hours before davening, then Young Man has to be able to do that as well. And I don't want to keep going because it can get very overwhelming sometimes. If Balabatim can accomplish great things, and so it's supposed to be part of a Koil where the leadership themselves are constantly pushing themselves to the utmost to set an example where the younger light feel as well they can continue to steig in Ruchnius. So today's Shiur should be the Nishmas of Nachman of Shlomo Zalman. I had the schluss of meeting him only once at the time before I came to St. Louis, and he told me a chiddush in a chiluk between Kiveger Sarachin and Gilyon Hashas, and Kiveger Sarachin and Chedushim, and Baruch Shem I remember it, and I've used it numerous times since then. But we're not going to discuss any of Kiveger's kashas right now, at least that I know of. I'd like to discuss an idea. To me, was a chiddush. It came together as a chiddush this year, and appreciating the nace of Chanuka more. And I'm going to preface that's a chiddush. And for those who follow with me to the end, if you don't agree, it's okay, because I don't have very strong support for what I'm going to say, but I think it's exciting and could be MS nonetheless. The Gemara and Shabbos will start with a couple of the more popular Ma'amar claimants that we're familiar with, just to quickly get us into the right setting here. So the Gemara and Shabbos and Chafal from Abayz introducing to us the basics of Chanukah. Says the 8 days of Chanukah, words represent, and as we know, there was the war. Shenichnasu, the first war line, the Gemara there in source 1. Shenichnasu Yevanim lahecho, when Yevanim came into the base of Migdash, Timbu kol hashmanim Rachmana litzlan, they defiled all the oil, the whole base of Migdash really. Shebehecho kshegavra malchus base Chashmonai. So now, when the Chashmonai were successful in battle, the Notzchim, and they were victorious, and they conquered and they wiped out the Yevanim from Eretz Yisrael. So they searched, they were on a search, they were on a mission, and they can only find one jug of oil that was still sealed properly with the Kohen Gadol's quality seal. It was sealed for quality purposes. There was only enough in that shemen, as we know, to light one day. Nasa by days, a miracle happened, and it lit for 8 days. Okay, so we're all familiar, we learned from the youngest of age the basic story of Chanukah. This Gemara is full of numerous questions. I'd like to focus on 3 questions right now that might not be the most perplexing, but something I would like to cover as we move forward. Number 1, who is the Kohen Gadol that signed? Who is the quality seal over here that made sure that this oil was kosher? We don't have precedent in other places in Chazal that the Kohen Gadol was the one who had to overlook. He was the mashgiach to make sure that the oil was kosher for the menorah. The Kohen Gadol had a lot of other things, a lot of other jobs to do. Why was he particularly busy here making sure this oil was certified? I mean, you can hire somebody respectable and responsible to take care of it. Why did it have to be Dafka the Kohen Gadol? And which Kohen Gadol? Number 2, it says Batku. They were searching. Did they have? You could knock off this diak, but perhaps you could say there's a diak here that Batku, they were searching because they knew they were looking for something particular. They weren't just, they didn't say they were looking around for all the simoni akitayres. They're looking around for behemoths that were kosher. They were looking for something for a pach shel shemen. Why weren't they looking for everything else? I'm sure the Beis Hamikdash was a mess. All the kelim that they used, the various cups they used to collect the blood of the karbanis and the spoons and everything. They had lots of. The Beis Hamikdash was full of kelim and full of ingredients they needed for all the various avodah. Why particularly were they looking for a pach shemen? And number 3. The lashon is v'hedliku mimenu shmona yom. They lit from it 8 days. What's it? Is it the oil or is it the pach shemen? You'll say, what's the difference? Well, there might be a difference as we go on. They lit from it for 8 days. So just hear the question for now. We'll try to bring it out more as we go on. What did they light from? They light from the oil or did they light from the pach shemen? With these 3 questions, let's move on to the famous Beis Yosef. Beis Yosef in source number 2. Was the one who, not necessarily the first one who asked the question, but he got coined with the term Beis Yosef's question. First, he prefaces his remarks by saying the reason why they had to wait 8 days no matter what was either because they were all tamei, so it took 7 days for the purification process, for the tahara, or because practically, in order to get back and forth to get the oil, from up north in Eretz Yisrael, it was a 4-day journey back and forth, so it would take him 8 days to get in oil. Okay, so now the Beis Yosef comes with this famous question: why do we need 8 days of Chanuka? As we all know, 7 days should be sufficient because the first day wasn't an ace, as the Gemara just said. There was enough oil to last 1 day, so there are only 7 days left for the miracle. Now, Rabbi Florence told me he has the Sefer at home, 500 answers. That's great. There's a lot of answers to this question. Beis Yosef himself offers 3 suggestions, and we'll try to discuss some nafkaminas between them. The Beis Yosef says, it's about halfway down, and the Beis Yosef says, V'yesh shloimar. The first answer he suggests is shechilku shemen shebepach l'ches chalokim. They had this little jug of oil, only enough for one night. You know, for argument's sake, we'll just call it 8 ounces or 7 ounces. 7 ounces of oil. They split it in, enough to burn 1 ounce per night, whatever it is, and so each night they put in 1/8 of that pach. And even though it was such a small amount of fuel, nonetheless the fire kept burning even with such a small amount of fuel. So therefore, even the first night was a nace because it burned till the morning, and there was only enough in there to burn for a short amount of time. That's option 1. So the nace was that even the first night was an ace because they put such a small amount of oil in, and it still lasted 8 days, and the fire still burnt till the morning, and that went for 8 days. Number 2, says the Beis Yosef, it's about 2/3 of the way down, beginning of the line. After they put the oil into the menorah, Shiur, the right amount, Nishar hapach mole. This pach was miraculous in the fact that it didn't empty. So again, they had their pach, which had enough oil in it for one night. They pour in, they filled the whole, they thought they emptied the whole pach, and they see that's still at the fill line. The oil jug is still full. So therefore, you see the first night was also an ace, because the first night also the pach miraculously filled back up. Or option 3 says the Beis Yosef, Inami shabalal harishay nasu kol hashem shabaneris. They filled up the menorah, similar to what we said before. They filled up, they emptied the whole pach the first night. The dolku kol laila, and it burnt the whole night. It kept going. Ubebayker matzu haneris malayim shemen v'chein b'chol laila. In the morning they came. It wasn't that the oil was ever consumed. None of the oil was ever consumed. So they only filled up the menorah once. The pach was empty, but the oil never ever burned physically, and therefore every night it was filled. It was already full from the night before, that means the fuel was burning but never being consumed. So these are the 3 terutzim the Beis Yosef himself gives to the question. Option number 1, again, the Beis Yosef says, is that they split up the oil into 8 equal parts, very small segments, and every night they put in a little bit, but it burnt till the morning. Option 2, the Beis Yosef says, was that they emptied the pach, but the pach automatically refilled upon empty. And number 3 says the Beis Yosef, they filled up the menorah, and seemingly they can get rid of the pach because the menorah stayed full, and it never, the fire never consumed all the fuel. These are the 3 answers of the Beis Yosef. Comes along the Taz. I didn't quote the Taz, I just quoted it from the Kli Chemda in source number 3, but I'll just speak it out. The Taz in Shulchan Aruch has a challenge with the Beis Yosef's Mahalach. He doesn't like it so much, and he wants to suggest his own answer, which is really a twist on one of the Beis Yosef's answer. He comes from a Zohar. The Zohar nays that you can't have a nace on anything which is a Kli Reika. In order for a nace to happen, in order for a bracha to happen, in order to be mizbarech, it has to be something there, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make it multiply. You have $1, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make it, that dollar all of a sudden turns into $100. But if you have nothing, and to get from nothing to something, according to the Taz, that's not really going to happen based on the Zohar, he says, and therefore he says it must be that Al Karchach, says the Taz, I'm just reading from the beginning of the Kli Chemda in source number 3, how he paraphrases the Taz. And it must be that all the oil was not burned out, because then the nace would not have happened. Because ein bracha chal al kli reikon, meaning he's learning that also the first night the oil was not completely consumed. Whether he learns like the second answer or the first or the third answer, meaning that they have actually refilled it or they didn't refill the candles exactly, it's not clear to me. But the point is that there was always some oil left in the menorah, and that's what kept it going. But then he brings from the Chidush Yerim, he brings from the Ger Rebbe. And he says the Ger Rebbe said he's not so disturbed by this problem of the Taz because he has a Gemara in Menachos. The Gemara tells us, on the top of the left column, he says, the Gemara tells us, the Gemara there has a question, Boy Rab Zera. Rab Zera asks in Menachos, Chitin sheyardu ba'avim mahu. You have wheat. And according to the way Tosfos learns the Gemara, what it means is that wheat rained from heaven. It was some miraculous wheat that comes down from heaven. The Gemara wants to know, is it kosher for menachos or not? And the Gemara gets into a discussion that it's kosher for menachos, but it's not kosher for shtei halechem, because the Gemara makes a drasha mi mosh v'seichem. It has to be from the physical land, and this wheat was not harvested from physical land, and therefore it's not going to be kosher. So he says, "Umei atas." There's a couple lines down the left column. Hachanami kivan da'ayedeya nesu im kein lahav shemen zayis kivan de'ena mizayis u'meila pasul menorah. Just like we see that for shtei halechem, it has to be growing from the ground. So too, according to the way I'm understanding the Chlusharim, is that the shemen zayis has to be a product of or grows from the ground. So it must be that the oil, in order for it to be kosher for the nace, has to be that it came from real shemen zayis. The b'neis Chanuka hayu bracha, meaning he makes a chiluk like this between a bracha and a nace. A bracha is when you have something again, then it gets multiplied. Like I said before, the dollar, and then it turns into somehow miraculously that multiplies. That's a bracha. A nace is if you would have something from nothing. He says it must be that the nace of Chanuka, even though we call it a nace, was really a bracha, because we don't want the shemen zayis to come from nothing. Because if the shemen zayis would just have miraculously appeared, then it would be a problem that it wouldn't be kosher for the menorah, because shemen of nace is not shemen zayis. In order to have shemen zayis, it's got to grow from the ground. It's got to grow from a tree, be cultivated and plucked and pressed, etc. Go through the whole process. So in order for this oil to be kosher for the menorah, it must be, says the Chidusharim, that it was shemen bracha. Shemen bracha means that it was from olive oil, and then it just had miraculously kept coming, but never stopped. So as long as you have the original shemen zayis continuing, it's like, so to speak, it's sort of like diluting it. Not really, because it wouldn't be kosher if it was diluted, but since you have the original shemen zayis there in the pach, says the Chidusharim, that's going to be kosher. So to recap what we have so far, we have the Beis Yosef's question, we have Beis Yosef 3 answers, how exactly the nace happened. Now we have the Chidusharim explaining that it can't be that was really shemen nace, it can't be that was completely miraculous oil, because that would be not kosher for the menorah. It must be that it was what we call shemen bracha, just that the shemen zayis that was in the pach or in the menorah multiplied and became more abundant, and that was what burned for 8 days. That's Chidusharim. Comes along the Talmidim of Reb Chaim, Reb Chaim Brisker, Reb Chaim Zalvejik, and they say that Reb Chaim Brisker, some say that Reb Chaim Brisker said a similar teretz to what the Chidusharim was bothered by. And this is, I quoted it in source number 4 from a kuntris that was put out. We have it here in the shul in the back. It's called Kuntris HaMayadim, the base brisk. It's from different Talmidim of Reb Chaim Brisker or the Brisker Rav, and different ideas that they said in the name of their Rabbeim, Brisker Tayers for all different Mayadim. And this is quoting from a kuntris called the Yagdil Torah that was published in Reb Chaim's lifetime. This is important. This kuntris was published already in Reb Chaim's lifetime, so it was printed. It wasn't from his pen, but was printed in his lifetime. It was penned by Reb Chatzkel Abramsky Zatzal, a Talmud of Reb Chaim, and he brings down that Reb Chaim was disturbed by the second answer of the Beis Yosef. Again, the second answer of Beis Yosef was that they had the pach shemen. They poured the pach shemen into the menorah. The pach filled up the whole menorah, but never got emptied. It miraculously got recharged, refilled automatically. So Reb Chaim asked, where it's underlined, he says, "V'hikshe im kain heich yotzu by lahalakas ha-menorah." How is that oil kosher for lighting the menorah? Hazeh having shemen denes. The second night, it's going to be completely miraculous because you emptied out the whole pach and somehow the pach stayed full. V'lo shemen zayis, v'anan shemen zayis. We need olive oil. It says, Kush shazumu for semes kvar b'shem agoyin Reb Chaim Brisk Shlita Zatzal. This question is already well known in the name of Reb Chaim Brisker, and he says, Hainu, it must be that in order for the nace to have happened in a kosher way, it must be that what they did was that they poured the oil in. There was some oil always left from the original oil, so he learns more like the third teretz of the Beis Yosef, that they took the pach, they poured it into the menorah, and maybe some of it burned a little bit, or maybe none of it burned at all, and the point is that oil kept on going. So the nace was the quantity of the oil that they poured in had a longer. It was a long last, like the Energizer, right? It lasted much longer than the typical oil would have lasted, and that's not considered shemen nace in the fact that it's not kosher from there, because again, since it came from the original shemen, it's a stretched out shemen that would be kosher. So again, at this point, we have the Chidusharim and Reb Chaim Brisker saying a similar idea, that in order for the nace to be kosher, in order for the oil to be kosher oil, because otherwise it's going to be shemen nace and not shemen zayis, it must be there was some oil left still originally from the original shemen zayis zach, and then that just continued going for a longer period of time. skip number 5 for a minute on the next page. Go to number 6. This chiddush that's said over the name of Reb Chaim, for some reason, it caused a big tumult in the Brisker Talmidim. And in the Sefer Daf al Daf, it's a contemporary author. He just is malakit from many different places. Just the easiest place to get all the information from. He quotes from the Rosh Yeshiva from Tifrach, from Menachem Man, who says that he met once an Alta Yid. When he was a young boy, he met an Alta Yid who had seen Reb Chaim. And this Yid went over to Reb Chaim Brisker and wanted to talk to him about his Chiddush on Chanukah. Wanted to talk to him about the Chiddush of the fact that Reb Chaim said it can't be that it was Shemen Nes. It had to be that it was really Shemen Zayis. It just got extended a life. And Reb Chaim told this Bacher, Ich hab das keinmal nit gefragt. I never asked such a question. It's Laihayav Loi Nivra. So now, of course, all the Briskers get very excited. Did Reb Chaim say it? Did Reb Chaim not say it? And this, of course, becomes part of the Messiah of Torah Shabbat Peh and Brisk. Whether or not Reb Chaim said this kasha or not. Then they go on about what Rav Beryl Soloveitchik said. Of course, Reb Chaim never said it. And Rav David Soloveitchik said, of course, Reb Chaim never said it. And other family members also said Reb Chaim never said it. But, so the family denies it. But all Talmidim Reb Chaim, the Stipler writes it, Reb Chatzkel Bramsky writes it, others bring it as well. So if you're into the Brisker Hak, this is a big Chanukah Brisker Hak, whether or not Reb Chaim had this problem or not. And okay, it's an interesting point. But whether or not Reb Chaim said it or not, we still have the Chlusharim saying this idea that in order for the Shemen to be kosher, it must have been that the original Shemen Zayis was still left. Some Rosham of original Shemen Zayis was there, and that was also what kept on burning. And the nace was that Shemen Zayis got stretched to the max, and that kept on going, because otherwise it would be Shemen Nace and not Shemen Zayis. Okay, we'll come back to 5 a little later. Let's go on now to number 7. We're going to take a break for a second from this question and digress a little bit. We asked before, so who was the Kohen Gadol? Who was the one who had signed and sealed this Pach Shemen? So last year, Dov Zefrin came over to me. He comes over to me a lot of times and shtups the right tires in my face for me to read them, tell me if I like them or not. And usually I try to be polite and I say thank you very much. I look at them and I give it back to him. Last year he shtupped me a Shvili Pinchas from a Pinchas Freeman Shlita, the Reish Kolim Bells, and it was a wild Chiddush. And I said, okay, very nice, thank you. And then this year it hit me again because I think we're going to expand on it. So Shvili Pinchas Shlita, he says a Chiddush, and he says he's very nervous to say this Chiddush, but once he said it, so we can say it again. He says, he brings the following. He says, Rochash Libi, this is the beginning of source 7, my heart is shaking, I'm emotional over here. I'm going to say an amazing idea to put forth here in this Chiddush of who is the Kohen Gadol. He brings a Gemara in Saita. The Gemara in Saita is not discussing Chanukah at all. The Gemara in Saita is having a discussion of whether or not Malachim could understand Lashon Aramis, so they only speak Lashon HaKodesh. Okay, it's a question, because when we daven Aramis, the Malachim hear it or not hear it. It's a whole interesting discussion. Says the Gemara brings a raya that Malachim, or wants to bring a raya, the Gemara attempts to bring a raya, the Malachim understand Aramis, they understand the Lashon of the Gemara from the following statement. Yochanan Kohen Gadol, it's bolded over there in the first paragraph on the right side. Yochanan Kohen Gadol, Shama Baskom Beis Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Gemara there says that Yochanan Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, he went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim and he heard a heavenly voice emanate Shu Omer that said, Nitzchu Talia the Ozlu La'agcha Karva La'antuchya. Now before we touch those words, realize those words are Aramaic. So he's hearing a Baskol. It wasn't the Shechina talking, it was already after Nevuah had stopped. It was the second base of Mikdash. So it's a Baskol, some Malach transmitting a heavenly idea that's speaking to him in Aramaic. Okay, so now what do the words mean? It means basically that the young lads who went to fight in Antuchya, someplace all the way up in Turkey or something like that, were victorious in battle. What's this talking about? So he brings the Bnei Yissaschar. The Bnei Yissaschar, Munkach Rebbe explains that this is Yochanan Kohen Gadol, the father of Matisyo, from the famous Al Nisim, Mimei Matisyo ben Yochanan Kohen Gadol. So Yochanan Kohen Gadol hears this Baskol on Yom Kippur. Hakavana Bazeh, says the Bnei Yissaschar, Shehiktim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Levasel Yochanan Kohen Gadol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling a message to Yochanan Kohen Gadol b'Yom HaKippur on Yom Kippur. Harbe Shonim B'fnei Nes Chanukah. This is numerous years, not exactly clear how many years, but numerous years before the miracle of Chanukah. Al Hanei Shal Chanukah She'oimei Lehisrachesh Mimei Matisyo B'noi. And the miracle of Chanukah will happen that in Antuchya, somehow represents the idea of Greece. Your children will go to battle against Antuchya. It won't be literally in Antuchya, but in Eretz Yisrael, and they will be victorious. So Yochanan Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, in the middle of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, here's this Aramaic Baskol coming out, which the Gemara uses to prove that perhaps Malachim speak Aramaic. Okay, we'll leave that discussion for a different time perhaps, but not getting back to that right now. The way Bnei Yissaschar learns this Gemara is that he gets the message, somehow he understands it's talking about Chanukah, And now says Rav Pinchas Friedman Shlita, based on this, what does he do? He goes ahead on top of the middle paragraph there. After Yochanan Gadol heard this baskol, and somehow he understood from it there's going to be a problem with the shmonim, all the oils are going to become defiled. So he says his boinin bedaito the shema hiktam HaKadosh Baruch Hu galus leidavar. That why HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him? So he says at the end of the paragraph there, in the middle paragraph, it says umizeh hiskil lahavin. From this he understood shu tzarach lahaktim refu lamaka. He has to do something now to set up to make sure that his descendants will be able to have olive oil. Lasais pach echad shel shemen tar. So he takes a jug, a flask of shemen zayis, chasam b'chesama, and he seals it. Particularly, v'hichbi asapach hazeh behechol shenizgala achakach lachashvanayim me'chanuka, and hides it somewhere in some nook and cranny in the Beis Hamikdash, so that his descendants will ultimately see it, and because they had this Messiah that they're going to be successful, and they're going to come and look for this pach shemen. Why are they being bodku? Why are they looking for a pach shemen? Because they already had been Messiah, says Rav Pinchas Friedman, that Yochanan Kohen Gadol hit something. Now he's nervous. How is he going to say this Chiddush by himself? This is a massive Chiddush. So he says he found a kolboi. The kolboi is from the Rishonim, and it's on top of the left column there. The kolboi says, he quotes the basic story of Chanuka we said before with the Gemara, but the kolboi adds one important point. He says, Shahayamunach b'taych shida kavua b'kaisel. The box, the oil, the jug of oil was placed in a box that was somehow some secret safe somewhere in some wall somewhere, and exactly where in the Beis Hamikdash. There was no way for the Greeks to have moved it. They opened it and it was still sealed. So the Kolbai says clearly, doesn't speak out the whole Chiddush where Pinchas Friedman says it exactly, but he's expounding on it, that this Pach Shemen was put deliberately there by Yochanan Kohen Gadol years before the Chanuka story. Why? Because he heard from a Baskol that his descendants are going to have this challenge with the Yevonim, and so he already was Makdim Refuah. He was Makdim Refuah Lamaka. He helped out already now in order to set up his generations for the future, and therefore he put away this Pach Shemen. So if you accept this Chiddush at this point, it makes a lot of sense. Botku, they're coming to search. What are they searching for? They weren't just looking stam to see, let's make an assessment of the damage, how much things were broken, what wasn't broken. They're looking because they know that there's a Pach Shemen waiting for them somewhere, and they're trying to look and find out where is this Pach Shemen. This is the Chiddush of the Shvilei Pinchas. Now I want to take it to one step further. And we're going to have the Shach al Torah, the Sifsei Karn al Torah. Now many of us are familiar with the Sefer HaShach. There is a different sefer called the Shach, which is written on two halakim of Shulchan Aruch, on Chosh Mishpah and Yeridea. It's a comprehensive work on the Shulchan Aruch, and it's called La Halacha all the time. Nothing to do with this sefer. This sefer, Sifsei Kain al Torah, it's written by a Mekubal, Rav Mordechai HaKohen from Tzvas. He was a Talmud of the Arizal. So going way back into the early days of Kabbalah. He has a sefer on Chumash. I'm not familiar with many of the things he says, but this is one of the things that I heard quoted many years ago from him, and I looked it up. So it says like this. The pasuk in Vayishlach says, Vayivaseh Yaakov levada. Yaakov remained by himself. This is when he went to go back to get the small packages that he left behind. So he brings a medrash, which the Balei Tosfos bring as well. Amru Chazal, Al Tirki levadai ela likadai. Don't read it that Vayivaseh Yaakov levada, he remained by himself, but take the word levadai and say that it really means likadai, he went back for his jugs. What jug is he talking about? So he goes on to explain that in the previous parasha, Parashas Vayetze, when Yaakov went to lay down to take his nap, we all know he went to sleep, 12 stones, he wakes up in the morning, they become one stone. The pasuk says he wakes up, he realizes a miracle happened to him, he takes oil and he pours it on the stones to make a mizbeach have. He's makadesh it with oil. So he had this special oil. Says the Shach al Torah, this oil, he takes this kad that he had, he pours it out and he realizes, hey, there was, 10 ounces in this jug beforehand. I poured it all over the Mizbeach. The jug is still full. Yaakov Avinu says, wow, this is a miraculous kad of oil. So the Shach says, he brings down, this is what he's saying from his Rebbeim, Vu Hashemen shenimshchu mimeno hamishka v'chol kelav. So Yaakov Avinu had left this jug on the other side. I realized, oy vey, this is the miraculous jug that I had gotten. Somehow I got this jug when I woke up and I poured it on the Avonim for the Mizbeach, and he had to go back and get it. He went back and got it, and then says the Shach, it's the same oil that was used for the Shemen HaMishcha. This is the oil that was used for Shemen HaMishcha for the Mishkan and Kol Kelav, v'HaMizbeach, v'Aaron Ubanov, and when Moshe Rabbeinu put Shemen HaMishcha on Aaron to make him the Kohen Gadol, etc., v'HaMalachim, and when all the kings were anointed, or the original kings were anointed with Shemen HaMishcha, Va'adayin kuloi kayim, says the Shach, it's still somewhere hidden today. K'mash Amru Chazak, the Gemara tells us in Harius and in Krisus, Zeh li l'dareseichem, will be for me forever, for generations. The Gemara makes a drasha that this Shemen HaMishcha lasts forever. Now, says the Shach, here comes the Chiddush. V'hu kad HaShemen shal hatzarfis, she'amar lo Eliyahu kad HaShemen lo yisachala. Just a quick recap in Malachim Aleph and Perek Yud Zayin. Eliyahu Navi is on the run. He's hiding for a while, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him to come out from the cave and to go to Tzarfis and find this woman there. She's an Amana and she'll support you. Eliyahu Navi goes to, and he finds this woman, and she mamash has nothing. But Eliyahu said, "Listen, I'm Eliyahu, and you gotta." HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to support me. She's like, "I got nothing." He says, "Don't worry. Whatever you give me, you won't be lacking. Meaning, it won't cost you anything at the end of the day." And she had this oil, and she kept pouring it, and never ran out. It's the same jug that continues the Shach. It's the same jug of oil that the wife of Avadja had. That's in Malachim Beis and Perek Daled, when Elisha tells the woman to keep pouring and to keep getting more and more kelim, right? So Yaakov Avinu risked his life to go back across the river to get this jug because he realized this jug was miraculous. The miracle happened to him, and he saw Baruch Kotray, according to the Shach, that this jug has miraculous abilities. It's going to be used in future generations. So he went back and get it. That's the amazing words of the Shach. Now, a few weeks ago, Reingold Shlita was here for Shabbos, and he very quickly referenced this Shach. He said it's from Chassidish Svarim, but it's really from the Mekubalim. And he said the idea is that it's just the idea that it's B'koyach. And that idea, the Marshal really says this. The Marshal says a similar idea in his Chedushim Al Torah and the Uriah Shloima. And the Marshal says that Yaakov Avinu risked his life to go get a pach. So b'schus his risking the life to go back and be careful to get the pach shemen, his future generations were zoicha that they got a pach shemen. That's one way to learn. The Marshal learns like that. But seemingly from the words of the Shach inside, it doesn't seem like that. It seems like there was something physical here. But keep in mind, I took one job because the Shach didn't say anything about Chanuka. All the Shach said so far was that Yaakov Avinu used it as miraculous. They used it for the Shemen HaMishcha, for the Kalim, and for Aron HaKayin, and for all the Malachim. Eliyahu Navi told the woman to use it. Elisha told Eshes Avadya to use it, and it's a miraculous thing. It'll be around forever. Nothing to do with Chanukah so far. Comes along the Birchas Shmuel, in source number 9, which is on the 5th page. Now, Birchas Shmuel, those who learned in yeshivas might be familiar with a different sefer Birchas Shmuel. Today is the name of Svarim that have the same name but are different authors. So in yeshiva, Birchas Shmuel always refers to a Baruch Ber. Birchas Shmuel al Torah was written by Rav Aaron Shmuel Kandinover or Kandinover. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. However they pronounce last names in those days. He's not so popular in the yeshiva circles, except for that he has many svarim. But one of the svarim that are more popular is the Tfer Shmuel on the bottom of the Rush. We're looking back at the Gemara, and almost every Masechta and Shas says Hagais Tfer Shmuel on the Rush. And that's the same Mechaber of Sefer Birchas Shmuel. So he brings this Shach al Torah. It's a hard print, so just trust me that most of it is quoting the Shach. Basically paraphrasing it, but the last line where I underlined it, he makes one extra haysafa. He says, "V'hinei pashut hu be'enai," says the Birchas Shmuel. It's pashut in my eyes. Shegam oisay hapach nizgala gam ken lebnei Chashmonai. This pach also was revealed to the Chashmonai. Now, that's an amazing chiddush. Shach al Torah didn't say it. The Gemara never says it. The Rishonim don't say it. Comes on the Birchas Shmuel. He's an Achron. He's an early Achron, and says to him, it's pashut that the Chashmonaim had that pach. This chiddush continues in a similar idea in the Sefer Kav HaYashar, which is actually the son of the Birchas Shmuel. Kav HaYashar is a very unique sefer. It's like a Musar, Hashkafa, Halacha sefer, a Kabbalah sefer, all blended into one. As a Tzvi Hirsch Kandinover, the son of the Birchas Shmuel. And the Kav HaYashar says a similar idea, not exactly the same as his father, but he says, V'achakach bo b'nei Chashmonai, the Beis HaMikdash, the Chashmonaim came to reclaim the Beis Hamikdash and clean it out. They found only one jug of oil. So far that's all simple. That's from the Gemara. And now he says the Chiddush. With that jug, they used it to anoint the kings. Excuse me. And any kohen gadol that had Mashiach, so he says, this jug that they found, he doesn't bring it all the way back to Yaakov Avinu, he doesn't bring it all the way back to Eshes Avadja and Eliyahu Navi, but he says it was the same jug of oil that was used for Shem Mashiach for Malchei Yisrael and for the Kohanim Gedolim. Now there's numerous questions with this pshat, or what the Kav HaYashar is saying, with Birchas Shmuel saying the Chidah in his drushes, goes on and on, is very bothered by it. But what I did find in the Sefer Shabbos Shalmi, which is a classic Sefer on Masechta Shabbos, not from the Kabbalistic collection, from the regular Koretz Mefarshim on Masechta Shabbos, the Shabbos Shalmi, he quotes his Kav HaYashar in his Chidushim on Chanuka, and he raises the question, he says, first of all, Shemen HaMishcha is not kosher for menorah. We need Shemen Zayizach. Shemen HaMishcha, the Gemara tells us in Harius and increases, Shemen HaMishcha was cooked with certain types of roots, and it went through a whole process, and it was, whatever it is, the whole procedure of Shemen HaMishcha cannot be Shemen Zayizach. We need Shemen Zayizach for the menorah. So what does the Kav HaYashar, and he doesn't quote the Bech HaShmuel, but the same idea, what does he mean? This is the same pach, they use it for all these things. So he suggests as follows. Ela kavanas harav zal loymar pshad. He's quoting the Kav HaYashar. Pshad the Kav HaYashar is da pach shematzu. This pach that they found, hoya oisay hapach to hoya mishtamshim. It was the same jug that they used, but oisay pach kishayitzricham nimshoich b'shemen hamishcha. They had the master jug of shemen hamishcha, father jug. For some reason, whenever they wanted to use from that jug, they wouldn't pour from it directly onto the people or the kale that they were using to anoint. They would take from the mother jug, the main jug, and pour into a secondary jug, and that jug they would go ahead and pour onto the kalim or the people. And the kahanim of that generation, of the Neis Chanukah, before Neis Chanukah, malu hapachahu mishem zayizach. So they had this special pach that they had used for many numerous occasions beforehand. They used to anoint the king, they used it for the Kohen Gadol, according to the Bech HaShmuel and the Shach. They used it for numerous things before, and this pach had a history, and they took that pach, not that they filled it with Shemen HaMishcha, but they filled it with Shemen Zayis, lahalais ner tamid, to use for the menorah, v'chasmu v'gonzu, lo yishay Shemen HaMishcha mamish, not that there was Shemen HaMishcha in that pach, zui kavanas harav, this is pshat in the Kav HaYashar, the Gav Rabba, Omar Milsa v'tzorach daktek u'levara. The Kav HaYashar was a great tzaddik. Just keep in mind, the Kav HaYashar was zeicha, not in his lifetime, already after his lifetime. The Kav HaYashar was printed, let's say, roughly 350 years ago. It went through over 80 printings already since that time. It's a very popular or very well-used sefer in many circles in Klal Yisrael. So the Shabbos Shalmi says you have to understand the depth of what the Kav HaYashar meant. He wasn't just saying something that didn't have a teichen to it, and he means that they had this special tzluchis that they used, not that they filled with Shemen Mishcha, but they filled with Shemen Zayis. Okay, so let's digest what we have so far. We started with the whole question of they were looking for something particular, they found it, it lasted one day, what was going on? So we went into the whole shtickle with the Shemen HaNeis. Is Shemen HaNeis kosher? Shemen HaNeis is not kosher. So we said that the Chidusharim and Reb Chaim maybe said an idea that it wasn't really Shemen HaNeis, it was miraculous, but the fact that the original oil had an extended life. It extended, and therefore was still kosher for the menorah. Then we went into this whole idea of who was the Kohen Gadol that put it away. It was Yechon Kohen Gadol. Why he put it away? Because we heard the Baskel that came out that there's going to be a reason that there's going to be a Yavanim that are going to attack, and there's going to be everything's going to become tameh. So he foresaw what was going to happen. So he stowed it away. Which keli did he use particularly? He took the special keli according to these mefarshim that had a history of being miraculous and being successful, of helping Klal Yisrael, whatever they needed for. And so he took this special kli that was used, had the history on it, and put it away, and he sealed it particularly. Now we could turn back for a minute to source number 5 on the 3rd page. Comes along a different Ger Rebbe, the Imrei Emes, and this is a letter that Imrei Emes wrote to his son, who became the Rebbe of the Beis Yisrael, and printed a Michtevei Torah from the Ger Rebbe's. And he says as follows. First he tells his writing a letter to his son. He says, yesterday some Rav from Hungary came to visit me. Ger was in Poland. And some Rav Meforshim say, one of the Rebbes from Hungary came to visit me, and he asked me a question about the Gemara Menachos, like we discussed briefly before, about Chitim Shiur Ba'avim, the wheat that comes down miraculously if it's kosher for Menachos. And he asked, there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that Adam Rishon, as we know, is not allowed to eat meat. But the Gemara says that the Malachim were in Gan Eden with him and they roasted him meat. So how can they eat him? How can they serve him the meat? The Basar is Tzolom Hashmayim Adam Rishon Loy Basar. So the Gemara says that meat, it wasn't from a regular animal. It came from Shemayim. So that's not meat. That's not fleishiks. That's whatever. That maybe tastes like meat. It feels like meat, but it's not real meat. So this Rebbe asked the Imrei Emes, Kimoy Kein Lo Chitim, the Church Pasha, that chitim that comes from the heavens should not be real chitim. Might feel like chitim, might taste like chitim, might act like chitim, but it can't be real. Just like the Gemara says that meat that fell from the heaven is not real meat. So the chayra, wheat that falls from heaven also shouldn't be kosher. So the Ger Rebbe told him, no, that which the Gemara says it's not basar, hainu basar min hachaya. Shezeh huzar Adam Rishon only means it's not meat in regard to the fact that it's not meat from a living animal, and that's what Adam Rishon was told that he's not allowed to eat. Our basar hu dechech oichlitim, but it's basar in the fact that it tastes like basar, and therefore chitim would be a similar vein. Okay. Now he says back to Chanuka, where it's underlined. It says, "V'chotzer v'hiksha." This Hungarian rebbe asked the Imrei Emes, "V'hiksha the Hashem neis to Chanuka lo yeh Hashem zayis." So back to our question that the olive oil from the neis of Chanuka should not have been kosher for the mitzvah. So says the rebbe, Ger Rebbe, Kfar Yishavti Zeh Rabbis B'Sham. I already answered this many years earlier. The Yesh Lomer the B'neis Chanuka haya haneis b'pach. The neis was in the jug. Haya boy midas muat hamachzekes hamaruba. It was a little jug that held a lot. It was a bottomless jug. MS Harbe Shemen Zayis was really a lot of Shemen Zayis in this jug. Nimtza Gamba Laila Harisha Mishemech Omes. Therefore, even the first night was a miracle because really that jug, similar to the second answer of the Beis Yosef, was always filled. Now, the amazing part is if you look in the footnote over there in Dalet, which is the printers who they printed these letters of the Ger Rebbe, they add the following, and this is from the I don't know who put this in. Just says at the end it's from the Kisvei HaChasidim. The Chasidim said this over in the name of the Imrei Emes. Shamaisa Haya Kach. This is what happened. Before the Melchama of the Chashmonaim, before the miracle of the Chanuka happened with the battles, they took a very large jug full of olive oil that's kosher from menorah. They poured into the smaller jug. The amount needed for the menorah, but the kli wasn't filled. So you take a 36-ounce pitcher, you have an 8-ounce cup, and you pour 8 ounces in, and your cup is not full. So what do? You think it fell to the floor, but obviously in this case it didn't. So they keep pouring and pouring. They filled up the jug 8 times until then all of a sudden it became filled. They saw this was a miraculous jug. Therefore the Kohen Gadol signed it and sealed it with his seal. So I think if this whole pshat fits together very well with what we're saying. What was happening over here? We said Yochanan Kohen Gadol specifically wanted to put away Shemen Zayis. Why? Because he heard the Basko that the Neis Chanuka is going to be happening, and he knew that their oil is going to be at risk of becoming tamei. So he goes ahead and he hides away oil. Why does he hide away oil? Because he's worried about they're not going to have oil. Which pach did he choose? He didn't just choose any random pach. He went, and what we were saying from the Shach and the Birch HaShmuel, he went and took this particular pach. They already had a history of having a nace happen to it. He takes from the Shemen Zayis Zach, fills it up 8 times, even though it only should hold 1, and then he seals it off and he hides it in a particular place so that when his descendants come, generation, whatever it is, years later, after the Neis Chanuka, to look for the oil, they're going to find it and they're going to be satisfied and have the hana and the geschmack of knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking down at them and smiling at them and realizing that the whole thing was orchestrated from HaKadosh Baruch Hu in order that they should have the Neis of the Pach Shemen. So I want to just conclude with an amazing idea. Part of the amazing part of this is that this is the only time I've ever seen Rabbi Chatzkel, Mashkiach, giving Pshat in a Chassidish Shemaisa. So this, just some backdrop, this is on the last page, in number 12, this is the Shmuz of Chatzkel Levenshid, Mashkiach, Avir said in Shanghai in Chanuka 1944. So just try to paint the picture. The yeshiva is on the run, they're in the middle of Nowheresville, Japan, there's a war going on, they don't know what's happening with their families, and Rabbi Chatzkel is trying to machazik the Bachrim of the yeshiva. So he says that they say over about Levi Yitzchak Barditchev that one time the Chassidim came over to him and they were complaining, Rebbe, the parrots, it's not fair. The parrots, he has all Tanugei Olam Hazeh. He has everything. He has all the money, all the wealth, all the pleasures of this world. He's living it up, and we're having such a hard time that the Chassidim told Levi Yitzchak Barditchev. So Levi Yitzchak said, it's true. The parrots has Kol Tanugei Olam Hazeh, but he doesn't have the hana of lighting the Chanukah licht. That's the Maisa. So it's a beautiful Chassidish Maisa. And if you're a Chassidish, you just walk away and say, wow, that's a great Maisa. The Rebbe told them they have the hana of the Chanukah licht, and you go home and you have kavanah. But Rabbi Chatzkel wanted to explain what was Pshat, what was the Pshat, what was Rabbi Yitzchak really telling his Chassidim when he said that the parrot doesn't have the hana of the Chanukah licht. So he says, the pasuk says in Yeshaya, Achein Ata, now we know you, Ata, you Hashem, are Kel Mistat, you are the hidden God, Elokei Yisrael Mashiach, the God of the Jewish people, bring the salvation. So the Radak learned the pasuk that Achein, it's true, yes, we know, Ken Yemrahim, the Goyim say, Ha'akum say v'cheinu b'emes, and it's true. Ata kel mistata, you Hashem, you're a hidden God. She'ein chanir, we can't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. However, v'ata lekei Yisrael, but to the God, to the Jewish people, I mean HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when He acts to Klal Yisrael, There we see Hashem Moshiach when He brings forth them a salvation. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Hanhag in the world is always a way that we're not usually zoichet to see the Yad Hashem in a real full way and seeing a physical hand, so to speak, come out and deliver for us the goods. But says the Mashkiach, says Rabbi Yerucham, he told the Bachrim in the yeshiva, but this is what we see on Chanuka, that we have the Nes Chanuka, Umaisra, he gave over the superpower of the day. Yavan was the superpower of the day, and there were the tremendous armies and the tremendous strength, and they fell to the hands of just a few chaloshim, a few weak people of Loizu Bovad. Elash Aslam Gam Nes Pach Shashem. Not only did we win the war, but then we go into the Beis Hamikdash and we find this whole miraculous pact. The way we're explaining, it's really unbelievable. That was a Yechad and Karan Gadol signed it and sealed it and took it with the miraculous pact. He says that is something only a Yid could experience and see from the Nes Chanukah. Rak B'Shah, I'm reading the words in the left column, it says, Rak B'Shah shehichlit lis chazek v'lates l'mer Yehuda HaMaccabi. We all, from the youngest of age, we have these coloring books, we see Yehuda HaMaccabi, we have a picture of this really mighty warrior, and he really looks like a real Hercules type of figure. Rahman al-Islam. Now, Chazal tell us he was really of superhuman strength, but there's no way in a million years, and no matter how strong you are, that you would have thought that you're going to be able, you and a couple of your brothers who are sitting and learning all day in Beis Medrash are now going to go out and, as strong as you are, you can rip a telephone book in half. Mazel tov. You're fighting against armies upon armies of people. It's really not going to get you too far. The only way he was able to do that is because he got together with his father and his brothers, and they had a Ma'etzes meeting, and they decided, for Klal Yisrael, this is what we need to do now. We need to go out. What's going to happen? Are we going to be successful? Won't be successful? That's not up to us. We've decided that the proper Hanhaga now is for Klal Yisrael to go ahead, and in order for us to have a kiyum, is to fight against the Ivarim. That's what we have to do. Lamdeinu said to Rucham, told them, when a person starts doing what he needs to do, in order to fulfill Torah mitzvahs, even if he sees that his strength is not going to make it to the end, it doesn't make a difference. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he has the right kavanas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yitin lo yisach koyches hanetzrach u'mol hatzliach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu give him the ability to be matzliach. So he ended off k'shehudi oimeinu mizboyin b'neiros. When a yid stands by the Chanukah licht, he stands by the menorah and contemplates and thinks about this idea. V'niska b'chol zeh haloi hanot tzerufa hizu. This is a very geshmaka, deep pleasure that only a yid can get. The poritz with all his pleasures, Hanuga Olam Hazeh, can never get this geshmak. We should all be zeiche to the geshmak and the lichtachayt of the Chanukah Yashkaya.